This is Lab 1, create a database table, query, form, and report. So log into your UCA account, go to My Courses, and find the intro database for fall 2014. And just a review of what I have out here on the home page is the syllabus. Let me go into student mode. You can open the syllabus, make sure you read it and understand it. It has all of the course rules. Also, the most important thing is at the end of the syllabus is a detailed lab schedule. So you will see when all the labs are due, and they're basically due every Monday. You'll have a lab due every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So make sure you read the syllabus. Also, on the My Instructor link, you'll see all of my information of how to contact me, my office hours, etc. And of course, the assignments link. This is what I'm going to cover, the first assignment here. As far as videos, any of the labs, it's the first time we're covering that topic, I will record a video. So if you click on the lab videos, you're going to see the different videos for the different labs. You may have to click here and it should come up. I don't have any right now. This is the one I'm recording. So you'll see videos being added. And of course, my grades. You'll want to click on the My Grades. Now, I'm not going to get to see them because I'm logged in as a teacher. But you will see for each lab, you will receive a grade. So check your My Grades on a regular basis. So the first assignment, read the instructions. We're going to download the instructions file and the work file and save it to the computer you're using. Make sure you save it to the computer you're using. If you open it from where you're downloading it and you don't put it on the computer you're using, you're going to lose everything. So you've got to make sure you do put it on the computer you're using. You can watch the video that I'm recording. It will be posted in the lab videos. Make sure when you're watching these videos, the browser you use, so whenever you click on one of your browsers to log into your UCA account, Internet Explorer doesn't run these videos very well. Usually Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome are the better browsers to run these videos. So I would highly recommend downloading one of these two if you haven't. They're free. All you do is go to Google and search Mozilla Firefox free download or Google Chrome free download and go ahead and download it. Okay, so to download the first file, Lab 1 work file, it's an Microsoft Access file, hence this file extension .accdb. So Access Database is what that stands for. If you click on it, whatever you do, make sure you save it to your computer. So I'm going to take the save option and say okay. I'm going to go ahead and just save it to my desktop. You can save it wherever you want to. I save it on the desktop so it's right in front of me whenever I need it. As soon as my computer boots up, there it is. If you do this route, if you click on it and say open and then click OK, whatever you do, don't start using it here. If you start working on it and just do a file save, it's not saved on your computer, you're going to lose all your work. So even here, if you enable editing, just immediately do File, Save As, save the database as to your desktop. Oh, I lost my desktop. So make sure you save it to your desktop, okay? I'm going to click Save, and of course it's already there. I'm going to replace it. I'm going to close that out. And just to make sure I'm opening the right file, I would minimize all of this and make sure you have on your computer, and this is why I say put it on the desktop because it's right there in front of you. I have that file on the computer I'm using. Okay, the next one is the instruction file, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to save it I'm going to put it to my desktop. And then I'm going to minimize this because we're going to submit the answers here in a minute. So I'm just going to minimize the screen so I don't have to log in again to UCA. So open the instruction file. I'm going to enable editing even though I'm not going to make any changes. So the first thing we need to do here is we're going to open the database file, Lab 1 work file, downloaded from Blackboard. If I get a security warning, make sure you click Enable Editing. So I'm going to minimize my instructions. And notice it goes down here on my taskbar. I'm going to open my Access Lab 1 work file. There again, I'm going to make sure I'm opening it from the desktop because you've got to make sure it's on the computer you're using, or you will not save your work. So it said if there was a security warning, make sure you enable editing. And so that's what I'm going to do is down here on my taskbar, this bar at the bottom, I'm going to go back and forth between my Word document, which is my instruction file, and my Access file. And you can see from the bottom it has an A on it, the icon that represents Access, and that would be my work file. So I'm now going to click on my Directions file and read the next step, which is number 2, create a new blank table in the datasheet view and save it as umpires. We're going to rename the default primary key ID to umpire. We're going to change the data type of the umpire field from auto number to number. So I'm going to bring up from my taskbar, my Access file. We need to create a new table. So up here on your ribbon, click on the Create tab. In the Tables group, click the Table button. And it automatically, and this is called Datasheet View. It said to do it in Datasheet View. On your Home tab, the very first button here says View. When you drop down the arrow, you have a Design View and a Datasheet View. So in Datasheet View, you see all your fields. So we're supposed to rename the very first field from ID. So all you do is just double click in there and start typing, and we want to call it Umpire ID. Okay, and just click anywhere in any white space to accept it. Now, we were also supposed to change the data type of the umpire field from auto number to number. So when you click back on this umpire field, notice up here on your Table Tools Fields tab, in the formatting group, the data type, the first field in Access, it automatically defaults to auto number. We need to change this just to number. So click your drop down arrow and from the list select number. Okay, I'm down on my taskbar and bring up my instruction file. On step 3, in the umpires table, add 3 fields: first name, last name, phone number. Each of these are going to be a short text data field type, and the 4th field we're going to call hire date, and we're going to have set the data type to date and time. So on my taskbar, I'll bring up my Access file. So it says click to add a new field. So click in the box that says click to add. We want to format this as a short text and then type in the name. We want to call this first name. You can either hit tab or just click on the next one, click to add. The next field is to be a short text data type, and we want to call it last name. Tab or just click in the next click to add field. We want this a short data type, and this is going to be phone number. And the last one is a date and time data type. So select the date and time, and we're going to call this hire date. Okay, I'm going to bring up my instruction file for my taskbar, which is the Word document. It's designated by the icon that looks like Word, which is the W. We are now on step 4. We're going to switch to Datasheet View if necessary. We're already in Datasheet View. You can do this in Design View also. So if you've ever had any kind of experience with Access, if you know how to do this in Design View, it's fine. We will be doing labs later on labs where we'll be doing a different view. So just make sure you're in Datasheet View, and we want to increase the width of the phone number column to 20. Easy way to do this is just right click on the field name and then select field width from there, and then we're going to enter the following records into the umpires table, and we're going to save and close it. Okay, so I'll bring up my access file down on my taskbar, and we want to increase the phone number field. So the hint was right click on the field name, so right up here where it says phone number, which is the field name, right click, select field width, and in the column width we're going to type in a 20 and click OK. Now we also want to type in the following data. So from this table that we saw here, we want 1, William, Shaw, etc. So in umpire number is a 1. Hit tab to go to the first name, which is William. Hit tab, last name was Shaw. Tab, the phone number. Tab, and the hire date. And even though we're on the last field, if you hit tab, it will now go to the next record. And it was 2, tab, and there again, from this table, Nicholas, tab, tab, and then go ahead and fill in the table. And when you're finished with the last entry, you can go ahead and hit tab or click anywheres out in any cell. Okay, I'll bring up the instructions file from the taskbar. On step 5, we're going to open the coaches table in datasheet view and resize the columns with the name column, years coaching column, and cell phone according to this bulleted list. Okay, back here, save and close the umpire table. I did not do that, so let me bring my access file back up. So down on my taskbar, bring up my work file. Easiest way to save it is up here on your quick access toolbar. Just click on the little diskette. If you point to it, notice the screen tip comes up and says save. We're supposed to call it, going back to that step, umpires. Okay. Save and close the umpires table. Okay. So right now where it says table's name, call it umpires. Notice how it's just a default name of table 1 right here. And I'm going to type in umpires and OK. And then to close it, make sure you follow this tab where it changed the name of that table across here and click that X to close it. Don't go up here to this top X and close out of access. You just want to close this table. So follow that straight across and click close. Okay, now we're to open the coaches table. So over here in your navigation pane, here's a list of all your tables, all your queries, your forms, reports. So under tables, we need to open the coaches table. And we want to resize the name field. So, and fields are actually columns. Each row in a database is known as a record, is an individual entity. So to resize the name column, we're going to do it just like we did previously. Right click on the field name, which is name, select field width, and we want this to be a 17.5. Click OK. We need to change the year coaching to a size 15, so right click here on the years coaching, select field width, type in 15 and OK. And the cell phone column, so right click on the cell phone title of that column, select field width, and this is going to be a 12 and click OK. And as directions say, after we change that, save and close the coaches table. Okay, so I will now save it. I'm going to use the quick access toolbar and close it. And make sure you follow that tab across and click on the X to close that table and not up here on access. Okay, step 6. We're going to open the players table in datasheet view, and for the record with the player, and there again, what a record is a row. Every row in a database file is called a record. we're going to change the player ID to 54. We're going to change the last name field to Mills, and then on player ID 24 we're going to change the first name to Allen, and then we're going to close the players table. So for my taskbar, I bring up my access file, and this table is the players. So over here in the tables, I'm going to double click on players. On player ID, the first one we want to change is player ID 54, so just scroll down till you see 54, and we want to change the last name to Mills. So in the last name column, click in there, and they've got Miller, so we're just going to change it to Mills. So I'm going to backspace out the ER and type in S. And then for player number 24, so I'm going to scroll up to find player number 24. And what we need to do is change the first name to Allen. So on player 24, make sure you're in the first name column, the field, and it should be A-L-A-N. And then just click anywhere out to accept it, and we want to close the players table. We don't have to save it. Every time you make changes in a table like this, Access automatically saves it. And if it doesn't, it will come up and ask you if you want to save it. So it's really safe to close it, and they're going to follow that players tab across, click that X. Had it not saved that automatically after I entered that, it would have asked me, do I want to save it? On step 7, open the relationship window by clicking the database tools, then relationships, and click the show table. We're going to add the awards table to the window, and we're going to create a one-to-many relationship between the players table and the awards table. And in order to connect these two tables, we have to do it with a field that is a common field in each one of these tables. So the player ID in the players table is the same as the player ID in the award player ID in the awards table. So let's bring up our access, and what we're doing is all of these tables here, if I just have awards, you can see the award ID, the award name, the award to that player. Here's the coaches and their name, address, years coaching. The players, here's a player ID with their name. The umpires, umpire ID, their first and last name. If I have an award here called Outstanding Rookie Male, and it went to player number 72, I don't know who player 72 is without coming over here to the players table and going down here through player ID and finding number 72. So what you do when you build these relationships, and I'm going to close all these tables, is it makes a connection between the awards table and the players table based on that player ID number. So if I wanted to, and when we get into queries, if I want to show whoever won that particular male award, it will automatically, if I build this relationship correctly, go to the players table and find player number 72 for me. So how we do that is up on the ribbon, click on the Table Tools tab. In the Relationships, click on the Relationship button. And we have the coaches and the players already connected here, from the coach ID to the team coach. We need one to the awards table. So as the instructions said, click on the Show Table. And what we need to do here is add the awards table to this relationship window. And how you do that is assuming that the Tables tab is the active one. If not, make sure you click on the Tables tab. Click on make sure the awards table is the one you've selected and click Add. Now you may not can see it, so just like in any Windows environment, if you left click on the title bar of any window, you can drag it and drop it so I can get it out of the way. I see it's added now, so go ahead and close your Show Table dialog box. And the connection between these two files here is the player ID field. And the player ID field here that identifies each player is the same one as the award player ID. So if that particular player won an award, their award player ID is the same. So how you build this relationship is in the players table, left click on the player ID field, hold that mouse button down and drag across and point to the award player ID and let go. You have a relationship window that comes up, and it's saying the relationship between these two tables is in this table, the players table, the player ID is the same in the awards table as the award player ID. Now, the instructions also said to check mark enforce referential integrity. So check mark that, and what that means is if I try to add a player ID here to this awards table and that player doesn't exist in the players table, this will not let me do it. If I don't check mark this, I can go in here and add a player ID with an award in here and not have a player that actually exists, that doesn't have a player ID. So this does not allow me to enter a player ID in this awards table unless that player really exists already in the player table. So there again, it keeps your data integrity. So now click the create button. And now we're going to close the relationship table. If it asks you to save it, say yes. And I'll bring my instructions up. So we save your changes and close the relationship window. Now we're going to do queries. And what queries is just retrieving certain information from files or from your tables. So we're going to use a simple query wizard to create a query based on players. That includes the last name, first name, and the rookie fields in that order. We're going to save this query as rookie list. And then in the design view, we're going to modify this query to list only those players who are rookies. And how you pull out the players that are only rookies is we're going to add the condition of yes in the rookie field. We're also going to sort this in ascending order by last name. And here's an example of what it should look like. Okay, so from my taskbar, I'll bring up my access file. And we want to create a simple query wizard. So up here on your ribbon, click on Create. In the Query section, we're going to click on Query Wizard. Hence the directions right here. A simple query wizard. So we do Query Wizard. Here in the dialog box, it should default to Simple Query Wizard, but if not, select it and click OK. Now the instructions said we want the last name, first name, and rookie fields. Okay, so from the players table here, now make sure there's a lot of tables here. If it's not defaulting to players, make sure you drop down that arrow and change it to players tables. We want the last name. So in available fields, click on last name and then click the arrow pointing to the right. So these are the fields that are available. These are the fields that we want. The other field we wanted was first name. And another way to do this, if you don't want to just click once and click the selector arrow, you can just double click on the field name and it goes over. And then we want the rookie field. So click on the rookie field and either click the arrow selector to the left or just double click rookie, either method. Okay, so we have the fields that we want. So click next. We're always going to accept details, so just click next. What we want to call this in our instructions is we're going to call this, save the query as rookie list. So right here, change this name to rookie list. So what we're doing is we're taking this players table that have all these players in it, and we only want to see the rookies. Now the instructions said to modify this query so it's only rookies. So right here, I don't want to, if I open the query, all I'm going to do is get all the players. I need to click this radial button right in front of modify and click finish. Now how I get the rookies is the criteria here said add the yes condition to the rookie field. So right here in the rookie field, make sure you're in the rookie field, you have a criteria row. So find the cell that intersects the rookie field and the criteria row and type in yes. Okay, so let's run the query. So up here on your toolbar, click on the big red exclamation mark that says run. And I should have here listed only the players that are considered a rookie. If I bring up my instruction file and compare that to what I got here, oh, I forgot to sort it. Let me go back. So right here, I didn't sort it in ascending order by last name. So bring up your access work file And right here on your home tab in the views, what we have to do here is we're in data sheet view where it just shows us all the results of the query. We need to get back to design view because I forgot to sort it. So click that drop down arrow, go to design view. Now this is where we typed in the yes. So this is design view where you're setting it up. You're designing what you want. Data sheet view is where you actually view your results. So right here, we needed to sort this by last name. So find the last name field down here, and you have a row called sort. Click in the cell that intersects the last name in the sort row. Drop down that arrow, and we want it ascending order. Now, up on your toolbar, click the big red exclamation to run again. And now, if I compare this with my instructions here, an example, which it can't list all, it's too many. There it says here, not all records are going to be listed due to limitations. I'm pretty sure it's the same. Okay, so now what we're supposed to do is we ran it, we compared it, we need to save and close it. So right here, I'm going to save the rookie list. So up here on the quick access toolbar, click on save, follow that across, and close it. Okay. On step 9, we're going to do another simple query wizard. And we're going to create a query that includes both fields from the coaches and the players table. So we want the name and the team name from the coaches table and the last name and the first name from the players table. We're going to save this as team list. We're going to modify this in design view so that we sort it first in ascending order by team name and then in ascending order by last name. We'll then run it, compare it to this list here. There again, it's a partial list, and save and close it. So from my taskbar, I'll bring up my access work file. Up on your ribbon, we're going to do create again. And in the query section, we're going to use the query wizard. And we're going to, in the new query dialog box, make sure you select simple query wizard. It should usually default to that. Click OK. Now this time, we want from the coaches table. So drop down your table arrow and select coaches. And from the coaches, we want the name. So either click once on the name and click the selector arrow or double click on it. And we want the team name. So I'm just going to double click. Now we want from the players table. So up here on your tables drop down arrow, change it to players. Now if we did not have that relationship built up here when we went to the table tools and did the relationship, if we didn't have that relationship built from those tables, this query would not work. So that's how important it is to have that relation. And what you did is you turned it into a relational database. Okay, so from here we want the last name. I'm going to double click. And we want the first name. Double click. Okay, so that's all the fields we needed. So I'm going to click next. We'll always do details, so click next to accept the default of detail. We're going to call this, it's called team list. So we want to name it team list. And it said we need to modify it in design view. So right here, click the radial button, modify the query, and click finish. And what we want to do is sort this in ascending order by team name. So down here in the details, make sure in the team name field and in the sort row, so find the cell that intersects the team name and the sort row. Once you click in it, you get a drop down arrow, and we want this ascending. And then we want to sort it in ascending by last name. So make sure you're in the last name field and find the cell that intersects the last name field and the sort row. We want ascending again. Okay. Now, up on your toolbar, click on the big red exclamation mark to run it and compare the answers that you get here in your access file to here in the instruction sheet, and it looks the same to me. Okay, so now we want to save and close this table. So on the quick access toolbar, let's click on the save button. and make sure you close this, just this table, not access, just the table. I'll bring up my instruction sheet. So we are on step 10. We're going to open the query named Coach Contact List in Design View, and we want to add the cell phone as the 5th column in that query, and then we're going to run it. So I'll bring up my access file, and we want to bring up the coaches table. So just double click to open it. It's in data sheet view, meaning you're getting to see all the fields, all the records. Each row has an individual entity, so you're looking at all the records. We need to go to design view, so up here on the home tab in the views group, click the drop down view button and go to design view. Oh, I picked up the wrong one, my bad. Let me close that. I opened the table. We need to be in the query, so close that table out if you're following me. In the queries, we need the coach contact list. So here's all the coaches. Now we need to change it to design view, and we want to add the cell phone field to this list. Notice the cell phone does not appear in this table. So when we go to design view, if we want it to appear up here in the fields available, we want to add cell phone as the 5th field. So all you do is double click here and it automatically comes in as the last field. Now let's run it. So up here on your toolbar, click on the big red exclamation to run it, and notice now the cell phone of the coaches will appear. Okay, run the query. Okay, in data sheet view, select all the columns in the coach contact list and change the font size to a 12. Then we're going to save the coach query. So I'll bring up my access file. To select all of the columns, what you do is point to the first field name, which is name. Make sure your pointer changes to that black arrow pointing down. Hold your left mouse button down and just drag across, and then let go. On your home tab in the text formatting group, they want us to change the font of all of this text to a 12, so just click the drop down arrow for the font size and click 12. And they want us to excuse me, save the query, so I'm just going to save it. Now in the instructions, we want to switch. Now notice we just saved it, we didn't close it. We want to switch now to design view on the coach contact query. Add a condition to select only those coaches who have 1 year of experience. Hint, what we're going to do is type in a 1 in the years coaching field. We're going to run the query. It should look just like this in figure 4, and then we're going to save and close it. So I'll bring up my access file from my taskbar. This is a data sheet view because we're seeing all the individual records. So up here on your home tab in your views group, click the drop down arrow and go to design view. And in the coaches years coaching field, in the criteria row, so find the cell that intersects the years coaching and the criteria, and just type in a 1. So we only want coaches. You notice when we did the coach contact list, it was all the coaches. We only want to see the coaches that have 1 year experience. So up here on your ribbon, click on the red exclamation to run. We have 4 that only have 1 year of experience. I'm going to bring up my direction file and compare the names, and that looks right. So now we want to save and close the coach contact list. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to close it. Okay, we're on step number 13. We're going to forms. So everything we did there, the first thing we did was all tables. We worked with tables. Then we went to queries where we're retrieving certain information from all these tables. You know, just the players that are rookies, they're the first year in, their coaches just the first year. Now we're going to forms. And forms are just an easier way to enter your data into your tables. So we're going to use the form wizard to create a form using all the fields in the coaches table. We wanted a columnar layout, and we want to call it coaches info. So for my taskbar, I'm going to bring up my Access work file. Up on your ribbon, we're going to click on the Create tab. And when you look at this, this is the main thing you do with databases, is tables, queries, forms, which we're about to do, and then we're going to end with reports. So you're doing a little bit of everything that databases are for. Okay, we want to use the form wizard. And what we want to do here is we want all the fields from the coaches table. So right here, make sure under tables, you drop down that arrow and go to coaches table. Now, if I want to select all the fields, instead of doing them individually, this double arrow pointing to the right selects all the fields. So the easiest way is that's a select all. If there's something I don't want accidentally, I'll put over there. That brings it back over this way. This brings it back this way. I can send them all back if I wanted to. So that's what these arrows do. So this selects all of them. So click Next. The directions say we wanted columnar, so it's already selected. Click Next. We wanted to name this Coaches Info. And click Finish. And this is a form so that, and at the bottom, it has each coach in it. You're not looking at, in Datasheet View, you're on a table, you're looking at every coach, all this information. This just allows you to look at one record at a time. Down here at the bottom, you have your navigation. So if I want to go one record at a time, this is the second coach, third coach. I can go all the way back to the very first coach. I can click the arrow here where when you point to it, the screen tip says last record, go to the last record. I can just type in here record 9 and hit enter, and it will take me to coach 9. So this is your navigation pane, and that's what a form does. It just takes you, you're looking at one record at a time, not all the records. Okay, let me bring up my instructions and use form view for the coach's info to display the record for Coach Washington, and then update her cell phone number to 7824455. So this is an easy way, and I'm going to bring up my access file to enter information, so you're only entering one coach at a time, or one record at a time. So you can just go through here till you find Coach Washington. And we want to change her phone number. So she's changed her phone number. So the cell phone, just click right behind the cell phone number. And I know the first 3 digits were the same, but we're supposed to change it to 4455. And you can just click in any open space or hit tab or go to the next record or use the navigation arrows. Okay. I'll bring up my instruction file. Okay, use the coach's info form to add a new record to the coach's table with the fields below. The coach ID field is an auto number, which means Access automatically assigns this number. So when we add this new coach into the coach's info record, make sure we're not going to enter the coach ID. The computer's automatically assigning this number. So we're going to add Coach Baker, Teams Pirates, etc. So I'm going to bring up my Access work file, and this very last arrow pointing to the end here, it has a little yellow asterisk looking thing. If you click on it, it says new blank record. It will take you to the very next blank record. Now because the word's new there, that means the computer's automatically assigning them a number. So just skip that field and go down to name. We're going to type in Coach Baker, hit tab to go to the next field. And the team was Pirates. Tab, the address. Tab, years coaching 2, and the cell phone is you can hit tab, it'll go to the next record. Okay, so we entered that information and we're working with reports now. So close the coach's info form after entering the record. I'll bring up my Access work file and close it. Now I'm not going to save it because Access typically does save after you finish one whole record. It automatically saves it. If I close it out and it doesn't, it's going to come up and ask me. And it didn't, so I know it saved it. Okay, so now we're on reports. We've done tables, we've done queries, we've done forms, now we're doing reports. So we're going to use the report wizard to create a report using all the fields in the coaches table except the coach ID. We're going to sort the detailed records in ascending order by years coaching. We're going to call the report coaching experience, and we want to display this in report view. It should end up looking like this. So after we do these steps, let's check it, make sure it looks like this, and then we're going to close it. So from my taskbar, I'll bring up my work file. Up here on the ribbon, click on Create. So now we've already done tables, we've already done queries, we've already done forms, we're going to do reports. It said use Report Wizard. And from the Coaches table, so make sure you drop down that arrow and have Coaches table. We want all the fields except the Coach ID. So what I'm going to do, instead of just clicking each one of these individually, I'm going to bring them all over by hitting the double arrow selector. And then I'm just going to take that one Coach ID and send it back. So I do have all the fields except the Coach ID. Click Next. It didn't tell us that it wanted any grouping levels, so just go ahead and click Next. Don't change anything here. This is where we want to sort in ascending order by years coaching. So the first sort field, click the drop down arrow, years coaching, and it's already ascending. This button is a toggle button. It just toggles between ascending and descending when you click on it. So click Next. It didn't say us to make any changes here, so it's just accept the defaults by clicking Next. And we were supposed to name it Coaching Experience. Okay, and click Finish. We want to preview the report. It said to preview it in Report View. I'm going to close the print preview here, and just on my views, make sure it's in Report View. And I'm going to compare what this looks like. There again, notice how years coaching, that's what we sorted it in ascending order. I'm going to compare that to this here. It looks the same to me. So I'm going to close the report, and then we'll go to step 17. So from my taskbar, I'll bring up my Access file. I'm going to close it. Now, if I close it and it isn't saved, it'll ask me. So I'm just going to close it. Notice over here in the reports, coaching experience is added. Notice in the forms, when we first opened this, all it had was player info. We added the coaches form, so everything you add will come into your navigation pane. Okay, step 17, we're going to use the report wizard to create a report based on the coaches table and the players table. There again, had we not built that relationship in the relationship window, we couldn't pull information from both tables. We want the team name from the coaches table, last and first name from the players. We're going to view it by coaches, but we're not going to add any additional grouping. We're going to sort ascending by last name. We're going to use the stepped layout, portrait orientation, and we're going to call it team roster. I will now bring up my Access file, my work file from my taskbar. Up on my ribbon, click on the Create tab. It said use Report Wizard. And from here, what we want is, we're going to use two tables here. The first table is the coaches table. So on the tables and queries, click that, drop down that arrow, go to coaches table. And we only want the team name from here. So I'm just going to click once on the team name and click the selector. Now from the players table, so go to your tables and queries, click the drop down arrow, select players table. We want the last name, so I'm going to double click last name. And we also want the first name. So click first name and click the select or double click, whichever method you want. Okay, then click next. That's the only fields we want. Right here, the instructions said to view the data by coaches. So just make sure by coaches is selected and click next. It said do not to change any of the groupings, so just click next to accept that. We want to sort this ascending by last name. So on the first field, click the drop down arrow, go to last name. It's already ascending, so we don't have to change that. Click next to accept it. We want it stepped layout, which it already is, and we want it portrait landscape, portrait orientation, so just click next. And we want to call this team roster. And then we want to just preview it, so click finish. And by looking at this and comparing it to this, we had Dodgers, last name is sorted, Astros, last name. So when you look at ours, we have Dodgers, last name sorted, Astros, last name sorted, so it looks the same. Okay, so now we want to, there again, we made sure we compared it to this, which is a partial list, and close the roster report. I'll bring up my access. I'm going to close the roster report. And notice over here, it made a new report called Team Roster. Okay, step 18, the last step. Open the Rookies by Team report in Report View. Notice that the text box that displays the name is not wide enough to display all the data. We're going to switch to Design View, or I'm going to expand that name field so that it's 1.5 inches wide. We'll use the ruler at the top to do this. We're going to review it to make sure that we can read the last names now, save and close it. Okay, I'll bring up my work file from my taskbar. Open the Rookies by Team report. And when you do, notice the coaches' names are cut off. You can't read them. So what we have to do is go to Design View. So on your Home tab in the Views group, click the drop down arrow and go to Design View. And this coach name here is not wide enough. So what you want to do is just click, this is the page header. You want the coach ID header right here. Click in this cell and make sure it has that yellowish orange border around it. Then on the right hand side, in the middle of that side, you have a sizing arrow. It's just a little square sitting there. Move your mouse and point to that square until your pointer changes to an arrow pointing to the left and right. Left click, hold that mouse button down and drag until you see up at the top here on the ruler that it hits the 1.5 inch mark, and let go. Okay, let's go back to Datasheet View and see if we can now read the coach's name. So in the Views group, click the drop down arrow, go to Report View, and you can see the coach's full name now. The field was not wide enough. Okay, so now we want to save and close the report. Then we're going to exit access so that we close the database file. If it asks us to save it, say yes, and then we want to submit it. So I'll bring up my access file. We're going to close this. If it doesn't save it, this is where I want to show you that it didn't save that change because we were in Design View. So do you want to save the changes? Yes. So anytime you try to close it, if it's not saved, it will ask you. If it's automatically saved, it will just automatically close it. Now, do not submit this unless you close totally out of access. If you submit this Lab 1 work file with it still open in access, I'm probably not going to get it, or I'm going to get garbage. So always, always totally close out of access. Totally close out of that file. I'm going to close my instruction file. I'm going to come down here, and on my taskbar in my browser, I still have my assignment open. So I'm going to click on that assignment. And how you submit it, of course, if you're not in the assignments link, go to the assignments link. You've got to click on the assignment header. So just click where it says what SHLAB it is. Scroll down till you see section 2 where it says assignment submission. You're going to have to attach that file so I can grade it. So click on Browse My Computer. I saved mine on the desktop, so navigate to wherever you save that file. And it's called Lab 1 work file. There it is. I can see you notice it says Microsoft Access Database. It has the access icon with the A, so just click once and click open, or just double click, make sure it says it's attached here. If there's anything you need to tell me, add me a comment, and then hit submit. And if you have any questions, all my contact information is in the syllabus and also under my instructor link, and yell at me if you have any problems. Good luck.